Title: The Stained Legacy. Voices of blood in the old manor. Dust danced in the beam of Elena's flashlight, revealing suspended particles like tiny ghosts. The air in the manor was thick, heavy with the weight of years and a sepulchral silence that echoed in her ears. They had inherited the house from a great aunt they never knew, a mysterious figure shrouded in rumors of madness and self-imposed seclusion. Behind them lay the bustling city. Now, they were surrounded only by the imposing stone structure and the constant whisper of the wind through the ancient trees that encircled it. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Marcos asked, his voice barely a murmur in the vastness of the entrance hall. Elena nodded, swallowing hard. The inheritance was tempting, a huge house with extensive lands, ideal for escaping the frenetic pace of modern life. But it was also unsettling. The photos they had seen before arriving showed an imposing building, yes, but with an oppressive, almost threatening atmosphere. "We need a change, Marcos. And besides, we can't just let it rot," Elena replied, trying to sound more confident than she actually felt. The manor greeted them with a musty smell of dampness and old wood. Furniture covered with white sheets loomed like silent specters in the dim light. Elena turned on another flashlight, and they began to explore. Each room was an echo of the past, faded portraits of men with stern gazes, libraries filled with books with cracked leather covers, and display cases with delicate, dusty porcelain. In the main hall, they found a large oil painting. It depicted a man with an angular face and penetrating eyes, dressed in period clothing. A golden plaque beneath the portrait identified him as Samuel Blackwood, the founder of the family and the builder of the manor. Something in his gaze disturbed Elena, a calculating coldness that made her skin crawl. That night, while they slept in one of the least dilapidated rooms, Elena woke up with a start. An icy whisper seemed to emanate from the walls. First, an indistinct murmur, then clear words, though spoken in a guttural voice filled with hatred. "They will pay. They will pay for what my ancestors did." She woke Marcos, who, logically, attributed the sound to a vivid dream. But as the days passed, the phenomena intensified. Objects changing places, doors opening and closing on their own, and the constant whisper, growing louder and more threatening. Elena began to feel watched, as if an invisible presence followed her every step. One afternoon, while exploring the attic, she found an old wooden chest hidden beneath a pile of dusty fabrics. With difficulty, she opened it. Inside, she found a leather-bound diary, several yellowed letters, and a small silver medallion with an intricate engraving. The diary belonged to Abigail Blackwood, Samuel's wife. Its entries revealed a dark and disturbing story. Samuel had amassed his fortune through exploitation and cruelty. He had dispossessed the indigenous people of their lands, using violence and deceit. Abigail, tormented by guilt and horror, had tried to denounce his crimes, but Samuel had silenced her, locking her in the attic and declaring her insane. The letters confirmed Abigail's story. They were desperate pleas to friends and family, begging for help to escape Samuel's tyranny. But none of them had reached their destination. Samuel had intercepted and destroyed them, completely isolating his wife. Elena recognized the medallion. It was the same one Abigail wore in a small portrait they had found in one of the rooms. As she touched it, she felt a chill run through her body. That night, the presence became more palpable. The whisper turned into a furious scream. The walls shook, and the furniture vibrated. Elena and Marcos took refuge in the main hall, trembling with fear. Suddenly, the portrait of Samuel Blackwood fell to the floor with a crash. The glass shattered, and the paint cracked, revealing a hidden image beneath, Abigail's face, deformed by suffering and madness. The voice echoed in the room, louder than ever, "Justice! Vengeance!" A gust of icy wind extinguished the lights. In the darkness, Elena felt a cold, skeletal hand grab her arm. She screamed, trying to break free, but the force was supernatural. Marcos turned on his flashlight, revealing a terrifying scene. A spectral figure, dressed in rags, stood before them. It was Abigail Blackwood, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes filled with fury. "You have defiled my home, you have revived my pain," the specter hissed. "Now you will pay the price for the blood my husband shed." Abigail lunged at them. Marcos tried to defend himself, but his blows had no effect on the specter. Elena, seized by panic, remembered the medallion she had found in the attic. She pulled it out and held it in front of Abigail. Upon seeing the medallion, the specter stopped. Her face softened, and for an instant, Elena glimpsed the young and beautiful woman Abigail had been before being consumed by madness. "Forgive me," Abigail whispered, her voice now filled with sadness. "Forgive me for the pain I have caused you. I didn't want this." Then, with a final sigh, the specter vanished. The wind ceased, the walls stopped shaking, and the manor fell into absolute silence. Elena and Marco stood there, trembling and breathless, processing what had just happened. They knew that the manor would continue to hold secrets, but they also knew that Abigail's vengeance had been satisfied. They decided to stay in the manor, not to exploit it, but to honor Abigail's memory. They researched Samuel Blackwood's history and exposed his crimes to the public. They donated part of the land to the indigenous community, as a way of compensating for the damage Samuel had caused. The manor, although still imposing and mysterious, was no longer a place of terror. It was a monument to suffering, but also to justice and redemption. And Elena and Marcos, the new guardians of the stained legacy, ensured that Abigail Blackwood's story would never be forgotten. Sometimes, at night, Elena swore she could hear a soft whisper in the wind, no longer a cry for revenge, but a silent,